Something massive just happened and almost nobody outside the financial elite is talking about it. While global media continues to fill headlines with stories of inflation, energy shortages, and political drama, something far more consequential has quietly unfolded behind the scenes. According to multiple sources close to international finance and U.S. intelligence networks, Tier 1 redemptions, the very first stage of the long-awaited global currency revaluation, have been completed. For years, the concept of a revaluation, or RV, has been discussed, debated, and dismissed by skeptics. Yet now, the whispers within private banking and global settlement circles suggest that what was once only a theory is finally transitioning into reality. For investors who have long held faith in the potential of the Iraqi Dinar, Vietnamese Dong, and Zimbabwe ZIM, this development is monumental. Tier 1 represents the sovereign and institutional level, the highest and most exclusive tier where large-scale settlements between central banks, international organizations, and elite financial groups take place. It's the starting point of the domino chain that could eventually reach individual currency holders. What makes this news especially groundbreaking is not just that the Tier 1 phase has reportedly concluded, but that it did so under complete secrecy, with military precision, and without the usual fanfare or leaks that accompany most major financial events. That level of silence is not accidental, it's a reflection of how carefully controlled and strategically executed this process is meant to be. The idea of a global currency reset has always seemed like something out of a financial thriller, a coordinated effort to rebalance wealth, stabilize currencies, and bring nations onto a more equal monetary footing. But in reality, it's far from fiction. Over the last decade, global financial institutions, the International Monetary Fund (IMF), and certain sovereign wealth entities have been quietly restructuring debt systems, updating cross-border payment networks, and aligning digital banking technologies in preparation for something precisely like this. With Tier 1 settlements reportedly complete, it suggests that the infrastructure behind a new monetary era is now not just theoretical, it's operational. What makes this truly astonishing is how invisible it all is to the average person. There are no breaking news segments, no ticker updates, and no official statements, only a series of subtle financial tremors that those paying close attention can detect. Certain banking systems have gone quiet for technical upgrades, while regional liquidity patterns in the Middle East and Asia hint at movement beneath the surface. This kind of coordination doesn't happen randomly, it signals preparation for a larger rollout. The quiet activation of Tier 1 may well represent the ignition point for a process that will ripple outward through Tier 2, Tier 3, and eventually to individual investors. If this pattern continues, the next 90 days could reveal some of the most significant financial shifts in modern history. The global revaluation has officially entered motion, not through speculation or rumor, but through deliberate, behind-the-scenes execution. The silence isn't a sign of nothing happening, it's a sign that everything is. To understand the true magnitude of Tier 1's completion, we first need to grasp how the entire revaluation framework operates. The global revaluation, often referred to as the RV or reset, is not a sudden event that happens overnight, it's a highly structured, multi-phase process that flows through specific stages, or tiers. Each tier represents a distinct level of the financial system, beginning with the most powerful global institutions and cascading down to regional banks, private groups, and eventually individual currency holders. At the very top of this intricate structure sits Tier 1, the foundation upon which the rest of the revaluation depends. Tier 1 is not about individual investors or small-scale transactions. It's the realm of sovereign nations, central banks, and international financial alliances, the true gatekeepers of global capital. These entities don't deal in millions or billions, they manage trillions of dollars in reserves, settlements, and liquidity flows that underpin the stability of world markets. Their task in this revaluation process is critical, to initiate and verify the first wave of liquidity transfers, test every security and compliance system, and confirm that the global financial network is ready to handle what's coming next. Think of Tier 1 as the stress test for the entire financial system. Before any currency adjustments can trickle down to the public level, the system must prove it can move enormous sums of money across borders safely and efficiently without triggering panic, crashing markets, or exposing vulnerabilities in international payment systems. This is why the Tier 1 phase is so crucial and why it's conducted with utmost secrecy and precision. A single flaw at this stage could ripple across the global economy, so it's executed quietly, with multiple checkpoints, redundant verifications, and the oversight of top financial authorities. Now, according to multiple reports linked to international financial intelligence sources, this stress test has not only been conducted, it's been passed. Liquidity has been confirmed, settlements between key financial institutions are reportedly complete, and synchronization between global systems including the IMF, World Bank, and regional central banks has been verified. In simple terms, that means the global financial plumbing has been tested, flushed, and approved for operation. The pipes are open, the systems are connected, and the money is ready to move. For investors following the revaluation story, especially those holding Iraqi Dinar, Vietnamese Dong, or ZIM notes, this is not just another hopeful headline. It's the activation point that shifts the conversation from speculation to implementation. Tier 1's completion is proof that the revaluation mechanism isn't theoretical anymore, it's live, active, and running exactly as designed. And here's the bigger implication: when Tier 1 moves, the rest will follow. Tier 2 and Tier 3, which involve private groups, humanitarian projects, and commercial banking systems, are now being prepared to receive liquidity. Every phase builds momentum, expanding the flow of funds outward into the global economy. The completion of Tier 1 isn't the end, it's the signal that the global revaluation engine has officially started. The gears are in motion, and for the first time, the world's new financial order is no longer a concept, it's becoming reality. Following the successful completion of Tier 1, which focused on sovereign settlements and the synchronization of international financial systems, attention now shifts to the next pivotal stages, Tiers 2 and 3. These tiers form the crucial bridge between high-level government finance and the structured private sector. While Tier 1 ensures the foundation is secure and liquidity is verified, Tiers 2 and 3 begin to distribute that liquidity into channels that directly shape the global economy: humanitarian projects, private investments, and infrastructure development. Let's start with Tier 2. This level represents the humanitarian and global development phase of the revaluation process. It includes major trusts, philanthropic organizations, international aid groups, and large-scale development funds. Their role is not merely financial, it's deeply strategic. These organizations are tasked with deploying the new liquidity toward rebuilding nations, advancing sustainability projects, and revitalizing economies that have long been suppressed by war, debt, or corruption. Tier 2 funding is designed to ensure that the financial transformation ahead doesn't just stay within government ledgers, it translates into tangible, positive change across communities worldwide. Imagine global institutions suddenly equipped with fresh liquidity to build schools, repair infrastructure, and support renewable energy projects in developing countries. That's the vision behind Tier 2. It's not about speculation, it's about empowerment. The funds flowing through this tier are earmarked for real humanitarian outcomes, ensuring that this revaluation creates a ripple effect far beyond financial markets. In this way, Tier 2 acts as a moral compass of the revaluation process, redirecting newfound wealth toward global restoration and equality. Then comes Tier 3, where the transition from institutional finance to private sector engagement begins. This tier includes high net worth individuals, private consortiums, multinational investment groups, and select financial trusts. Unlike the vast humanitarian organizations of Tier 2, Tier 3 players are typically elite investors who have undergone extensive due diligence and compliance screening. Their transactions are monitored closely to prevent misuse or financial manipulation, ensuring the flow of capital remains clean and traceable. Tier 3's activation is significant because it represents the final institutional layer before the public phase Tier 4 begins. Once these private groups start receiving liquidity, the process shifts from quiet background operations to visible financial movement. This is when signs of change start appearing in global markets, banks test their rate systems, compliance departments go into overdrive, and technical teams begin final readiness checks. At this point, major U.S. banks such as Wells Fargo, Chase, and HSBC are reportedly preparing behind the scenes. They are not yet opening their public exchange desks, but they are testing system connectivity, updating exchange rate tables, and coordinating with federal and international regulatory agencies. Every transaction, every readiness drill, and every line of code is designed to ensure a seamless transition when the public Tier 4 finally activates. In essence, Tier 2 and Tier 3 mark the shift from theory to tangible impact. They bring liquidity from the abstract world of sovereign settlements into the real economy, where it can create jobs, fund development, and stabilize communities. This is the bridge between hope and reality, the stage where the promise of global financial revaluation begins to take physical form. Once Tier 3 is complete, the door opens for everyday investors, signaling the beginning of a new financial era where prosperity starts flowing to the people. This brings us to the most anticipated and emotionally charged stage of the entire revaluation process, Tier 4. For millions of investors around the world, this is the tier that represents hope, vindication, and the fulfillment of years, even decades of waiting. Tier 4 is the phase where private investors finally step into the process and where the revaluation begins to touch everyday lives. But before diving deeper, it's essential to understand the structure within this tier. Tier 4 is divided into two parts, Tier 4A and Tier 4B. While both are closely related, they serve slightly different roles in the overall operation. Tier 4A includes smaller private groups, intermediaries, and organized investment clusters. These groups often consist of early participants or pre-qualified individuals who have been part of structured programs overseen by financial or governmental entities. Their role is to act as a bridge, a testing layer between the institutional side of Tier 3 and the massive wave of individual participants waiting in Tier 4B. Tier 4A allows banks and redemption centers to validate systems one final time, confirming that rate uploads, digital verification, and appointment scheduling all function seamlessly before the broader release. Then comes Tier 4B, the heartbeat of the global currency community. This is where individual retail investors, including holders of the Iraqi Dinar, Vietnamese Dong, and Zimbabwe ZIM notes, finally enter the revaluation process. These are the people who have tracked every rumor, dissected every news drop, and held onto their currencies through years of uncertainty. For them, this phase represents the culmination of patience, faith, and unwavering belief in a larger financial shift. However, Tier 4 cannot begin until every layer above it from Tier 1 through Tier 3 has been thoroughly tested, audited, and secured. The system must be watertight before individual exchanges begin. That's why the completion of Tier 1 is such a monumental signal. It confirms that the liquidity pipelines are flowing, compliance protocols are validated, and the architecture of this new financial framework is ready to handle the coming influx. In essence, it marks the transition from preparation to execution. For investors, this means the tone has shifted from if to when. The foundation is complete, and the countdown has begun. Across financial networks, reports are surfacing that banks are quietly preparing digital infrastructure, rate locks, and redemption scheduling systems. These are not open public walk-ins. This will be a controlled, invitation-based process to ensure security, compliance, and stability. Sources suggest that appointment-based redemption portals are being readied, highly secure online systems where investors will verify credentials, select appointment windows, and confirm exchange locations. The process will be private, streamlined, and handled under tight regulatory oversight to avoid chaos or leaks. Unlike what many might imagine, this will not be a dramatic overnight event. It won't flood the news or shake the markets in a single moment. Instead, it will unfold methodically, quietly, steadily, and with absolute control. Each phase will roll out in sequence, allowing financial systems to absorb and adapt as liquidity spreads. For the global community of investors, this measured approach ensures not only financial stability but also long-term sustainability. It's not just about revaluation, it's about creating a foundation for a new era of transparency, digital finance, and wealth redistribution that unfolds with precision, not panic. And so, as Tier 4 draws near, one truth becomes clear: this isn't the end of the story, it's the beginning of a new financial chapter where the world's quietest investors may finally see their patience rewarded.